Well, here we are again. Just going back down to the bookstore, seeing what we can find. So, as you all remember last time, we got Cody this sweet, awesome, the actual just collection of Lord of the Rings, like the whole thing. So that was pretty cool.
Sweet.
And wait, did you also pick up the Hobbit too?
I picked up that really nice Hobbit with all those illustrations inside of it.
Oh yeah, that was so good. But since basically now you have the whole collected works, I just figured that maybe we'll be talking about, we'll probably be looking for ancillary books. So we'll probably just talk about some of the characters. I think probably honestly like who some of our favorite characters are and why, you know, so things like that. I'll start off with one. Obviously me and you probably have talked about this in length. Is that showy? Fingolfin is probably the first one.
Yeah.
We talk about how awesome Fingolfin is all the time, just because, I mean, there is very few people that was going to just go up and stand up to Morgoth.
Just go and fight him.
Yeah. And the thing is too, it's not like that he had any sort of advantage over him either, because it's like, one, he's a god, two, he's like 30, 40 feet tall.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's just like, what are you doing, you know? Fingolfin was always my favorite. When you were going through the Silmarillion on the Audible, I was so excited for you to get to that point, because that's probably my favorite part in all of the Lord of the Rings Legendarium literature, personally. I just love that whole thing, man. He just goes up and stands to Morgoth. Just goes after him.
Awesome.
Yeah, he was really good.
I love Fingolfin.
Yeah, I wish that they would do a movie for Fingolfin.
Just all about Fingolfin.
Yeah, dude. That'd be so good. So, yeah, I think that's probably the first character that I was thinking about. What about you?
I don't know, I have a lot of characters that I like.
Yeah.
I think, everyone's always just says Aragorn. It's just gotta have him. But I think Gandalf is probably one of my favorites.
Yeah.
You just don't think of Gandalf, I think, when you have like all these fighters, Legolas.
Yeah.
But Gandalf, like, he's so amazing. Like, even his magic is awesome. Even though he didn't like do huge explosions.
Yeah.
Cool things like magic people in books nowadays, but just his subtle magic he'd do just would help win.
Oh yeah.
Wars, you know.
And I mean, I'm really gonna go off the movies on this particular part, but like when he shows up to the east to help out the rest of the battle at Helm's Deep, and he starts blinding them with his light.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh, I freaking love that scene. That might be the most beautiful scene out of any movie ever. Like, straight up.
I like that he just takes his, it's in the books, he takes his staff and he starts lighting pine cones on fire. Pine cones, it's like little fireballs. Like, that was fantastic.
Oh yeah, it's super good. I can't, yeah, I love Gandalf. And as you have listened to, I had a very big discussion about how I feel about a specific quote on Gandalf and how people like to misuse it. The thing is like, the idea behind a lot of the magic at this time in these books particularly is actually more based around knowledge. Like, that was actually like what wizards were meant for at this time, is more their knowledge. And so that's something that is also a little misunderstood. But I mean, Gandalf, man, I don't think there's anything that's more emotionally charged either, is when he comes back as Gandalf the White, you know? Oh my goodness. It's so good. Yeah. Every single time they're just like, and you know, especially like in the movies when they show it to you, a lot of it kind of makes it look like that they ran into Saruman.
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of cool when you find out, like, basically at that point, Saruman has lost his ability to be Saruman the White. And that to me is just pretty nuts. So, crazy stuff.
What else you like?
You know, I'm gonna go for it now. Gimli.
Yeah.
Red meat right off the bone. You know, just everything about Gandalf. Gimli. He's just awesome. You know, and it's kind of crazy because I think a lot of people just kind of see him as a comic relief a lot of times, which he kind of is. But at the same time, too, there's so much about Gimli that is kind of misunderstood and kind of just seen as just a a bit of a side character, which I really don't like. That people just kind of like, it's Gimli, you know.
Boss, man.
Yeah, I mean, there's very few people that are in the whole Lord of the Rings scene that are as powerful physically as Gimli. So, anyway, we're here. We'll get back to you guys here shortly. We'll see you. So we're still driving around. We went to a small bookstore. The guy was really nice. Barnes & Noble. We had some stuff that we probably could pick up there. We're gonna go check a couple other places before we do, so we found another bookstore that's about 10 minutes away. We're gonna go check out, see if perhaps we can find anything unique over there.
We're looking for
Fancy special stuff. Yeah.
More than just a paperback.
Yeah. You gotta have something that's gonna have a longer shelf life, because there are plenty of people who are monsters out there who will take paperback versions and then, like, to conserve space, they'll cut them in half.
What?
Yeah. I actually was seeing that the other day, like, it's kind of common for people to buy books that were paperback, and then if they were traveling for a long time, like in military or for business, they actually would straight up cut the books in half to save space.
So now you're gonna read half of the book?
Nope, you take both parts with you.
Oh, wow.
But you cut the book in half. That's where my system works, by the way. Yeah, but yeah, very common thing to actually do back during the wars and stuff. But that's why you also kind of got to watch out for the older paperback novels, because they might be sliced in half. So we're looking for hardback stuff.
You blasphemy.
Could you imagine finding like a really awesome 60s or 50s edition and slice straight down the middle? Oh yeah. So one thing that was cool is that the guy that owns that other bookstore that we went to, he said he has a 1960s edition signed by J.R.R. Tolkien. Trilogy.
Yeah.
The whole series. So he's like, if you guys are ever interested, you let me know. Nice guy though, he was super awesome.
14 grand.
That's probably a little ball on it too, honestly. Actually, kind of crazy little side note, where I go and get comic books at, you know, the guy who owns it has the very first issue of Wonder Woman called Sensational Comic Books, and it's literally the collateral for the company because it's worth so much. Pretty nuts. But he says that he can't even put it out on the floor because no one actually knows exactly how much it is. Yeah, they haven't been able to detail a price on it because it's in mint condition. Pretty crazy stuff though. Some things that you can just find around in the small stores, like that's what's kind of cool about doing all this hunting. But
we did find book 2 in hardback there. But
yeah,
I'm not really looking for that.
No, not yet. I mean, it wasn't even really like that special of an edition either. No. That's the other thing.
But it was in hardback.
It was a hardback. We're getting better. So, in any case, hopefully.
They also had that Silmarillion.
Oh yeah, in like Hungarian.
Yeah, there's some crazy language.
I don't know how I mean, where do you? I don't know. Those bookstores. It's kind of cool to go to those kinds of bookstores. One of these times, if we ever have like a weekend, we should plan this. There's a couple of bookstores way out south that actually have like antique books, and they were so old that they had to keep them in like a museum temperature and like air purified room. Yeah, see if we can find any cool copies over there. I found a couple of books that I bought that were like 200, 300 years old. One of them was Voltaire's Solstice, and the other one was Crime and Punishment, and they were like issued back during like the first couple of years of the country being made. It was crazy, but
Those are expensive.
no, I got them for pretty cheap because they were not in the greatest of shapes, but they were still kind of pricey still.
But if they had any form of Tolkien's works, that would be great.
Dude, they might have some really cool stuff. You never know though. But in any case, we're hoping that we can use some some of Legolas's eyes to see if we can find some sort of very special version of the book. You know, you gotta just keep our eyes on that, right?
Yeah, we're almost there. We're excited.
Hopefully.
The plan is if we don't find anything, maybe go back and pick up maybe a regular copy.
Yeah. Well, there are certain editions of certain books that will never be in hardback, like the Unfinished Tales, the Lost Lore. Like those versions are just, you don't have any luck in finding those in any sort of hardback cover.
Yeah.
So, a little sad, but you know, it is what it is. It's still part of the Legendarium, and if it's still something that, you know, we gotta collect. So, we gotta, yeah, exactly.
No, I did find, even though it's in paperback, that really nice looking, what was it?
The Children of Hurin.
Yeah, it has a really cool cover on it.
Yeah, it is always kind of interesting to see multiple versions of the same book, because the one that I'm used to is the one that has like the lone soldier standing there with his knife, or his sword. It's gonna be down there. That's right there.
What? My GPS is right here. The GPS is wrong.
Yeah, they do that from time to time. But yeah, we did find a pretty cool, that was a pretty cool copy. And obviously, like, you can get some smaller versions and stuff like that for now, but you know, you gotta keep your eyes open for the good stuff. Anyway, we are about here. We will talk to you later. Okay, well, we have had quite the adventure. Look, yeah, I know, and you know, I kind of actually was wondering if at some point we were gonna have to do some online or in-store orders. Yep, that happened. Lots of in-store orders, but you know what? We'll figure it out. It's fine. It's fine. We found some really cool editions. We found Silmarillion, the Children of Hurin, and you got your Baron and Luthien, and then we got the Fall of Gondolin, all hardcover and cloth cover, which is really cool. But man, we went just about everywhere, and yeah, it just kind of came to the point where we realized we were probably going to have to do some in-store stuff. But maybe the thing that's always kind of interesting is when we start doing stuff like this and people start showing interest again, then they start like, oh, we actually need to start sending these over. And so then usually a lot of times, you going on the highway? Yeah, that was really confusing. But we did find some pretty cool editions. I found a version of The Hobbit that actually will fit with my copies of The Lord of the Rings, which are the hardback covers, and they have the illustrations by Alan Lee. So that's pretty cool. We'll show you that when we get to a spot where we can turn on some lights or pull it all out. But in any case, yeah, you know, sometimes this is kind of the thing about, you know, collecting, as, you know, probably many people that, you know, even care to watch this, know at this point I'm quite the collector on multiple things, and sometimes you just have good versions and good days of collecting, and some days you just don't quite have as much luck. So,
we've been driving around to different stores for 3 hours.
Yeah, and I feel bad about the gas. But you know what? Like I said, sometimes just when it comes to hunting like this, you just don't always have the best of luck all the time. And that might be true just because the fact is that, you know, when it comes to things like Lord of the Rings, where there's an infinite interest in it, but not necessarily an infinite, like, collector. I'm sure that there's probably people that collect it, but it's not, like, 100% all the time the like, most interested book, you know? You got so many other things. So, anyway, we are here. I'm going to pull out my version of The Hobbit. Woo! There's The Hobbit. This is the version that is just like my Lord of the Rings. I have all three with the illustrations by Alan Lee. Very cool. What did you get?
I bought the Unfinished Tales.
Yeah, that's the actually the same one that I got last time. Finally getting you up on that too.
Oh, yeah.
They had a couple of other stuff, but I think this is a really good pick because of, like, between the Unfinished Tales and the Lost Lore, Those ones can be kind of hard to find anyway, just because a lot of people don't even know that they exist, so a lot of times people won't even carry them.
Yeah. Then we picked up the rest of the stuff. We all wanted to get like Children of Hooray, but we got all those ordered online since we couldn't find them in any stores.
Any store at all. It was nuts. But, you know what? It's gonna lead to actually some probably really cool, intricate things that we can kind of start collecting that are gonna be a little more specialized. We might have to actually just like sit down at one of our houses and just kind of dig online at some point, maybe, and do that.
It's a little bit of a bummer, but
yeah,
I like to run around in the stores and actually get my hands on them.
Yeah, but you know, there's always going to be something that we can collect, especially when it comes to Lord of the Rings stuff. And we'll figure it out. We're going to keep digging.
No pop figures this time.
Yeah, no pop figures. It's all gone. They only had Grishnock. That was
that last time.
Yeah. And I know, like, when I went to Box Lunch, that there's a couple that we can order there too in store. So that's possible. We might have to do that for that too. But anyway, do you have anything else?
I'm just excited to keep growing my collection.
Yeah, gotta keep it growing. Me too. Yeah, we're finally gonna. I'm really excited to get a hold of the Children of Húrin and the Silmarillion, because those are really the only two now, aside from like the odds and ends ones like these, that I have that are not hardbound.
I want to get a Silmarillion, like a leather-bound book or something.
We'll have to.
Like I said last time, I think I always look at it like the Bible of
a fantasy.
Rings, so
Pretty much is.
So I want to get it like a leather-bound book, like the Bible.
Yeah, that's pretty much sounds about right. Oh geez. Okay, well, I think that's probably about as much as we can go, and wish us luck for better luck next time.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll see ya.